Let's talk about experts. It seems, at least here in the United States, that people don't trust experts, and that is heartbreaking. When your car breaks down, you take it to a mechanic. They've got the training and expertise to diagnose and repair. Can you imagine what would happen if airlines started asking for volunteer pilots on flights? At best, people would just get off the airplane. At worst, there would be people trampled to death in the rush to get off the plane. Experts are good. They've studied and worked and know more about their field and specialty than other people. And there are some experts that are generally trusted, but some that are not. If we're willing to trust mechanics and pilots, why don't we trust psychiatric experts when they tell us how the human brain works, how sexuality works, how gender works? Why do we not listen to doctors and scientists that study the human body and immunology and instead listen to quacks and snake oil salesmen? Why do we seem to venerate and revere and listen first to people with the most money or the loudest voices instead of people with the most training? If you can explain why we shouldn't listen to the experts, then give us a call, because the show is starting right now.
Hey, what's up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Truth Wanted. I am your host, Kelley Laughlin. I'm just as surprised to see me in the driver's seat tonight as you are. And this is our live call-in show that we do every single Friday at 7 p.m. Central, where we talk to people about what they believe and why they believe it. And if you'd like, you yourself can call us at 1-512-991-9242 or use your computer at tiny.cc/calltw. Truth Wanted is a product of the atheist community of Austin, a 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to the promotion of atheism, critical thinking, secular humanism, and the separation of religion and government. And every week, we have a special guest on the show. Well, we didn't last week, but every week we do usually. And this week, my special guest is Aaron Jensen from the nonprofits. How you doing, Aaron?
Oh, me. Oh, it's me. Yes. Hello.
You are
I'm doing
my
well.
special guest.
I am the special guest. I was like, I just don't get called special in a good way very often. So yeah, it's good to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, that's true. I saw a girl that I know recently that from town. I live in a small town. I saw her at another store, and she got a big smile and said, "Hi," and I was like, usually women aren't that happy to see me.
What's wrong? What's going on? Help me.
So how have you been lately, Aaron? I know you and I haven't worked together in quite a while, actually.
It's been a while, really? Yeah. I was able to host Talk Heathen a couple weeks ago, and now I'm here on Truth Wanted. Today, I'm looking forward to taking some calls. Things have been going well for me. Just, same old. One day at a time.
You're backing up Talk Heathen a little bit more now, aren't you?
I am. They've got me in a rotation, it looks like, and I'm really happy about that. I love being on the shows. I love talking to people.
Do you like backup hosting?
I love supporting the ACA. I love their mission. I love what they're doing. I think we need more critical thinking in the world. We need more separation of religion and government. We need all the good things that the ACA is doing. So I'm here to help and support them and get their message out. Because I think it literally makes the world a better place when people can think more critically and evaluate what people are saying and maybe be just a little more skeptical about what's going on in the world out there.
I agree to all of that stuff, but do you like backup hosting?
I mean, I'd much rather be on the show than backup hosting.
Of course.
Hey, so there's always got to be a backup host. So.
I did a lot when we first started having backup hosts, and there weren't a lot of people who were trained on all the stuff, so I was doing a lot of it, and I loved doing it. It was like, hey, I get to hang out with SR and Forrest Valkai for an hour before the show. That was a lot of fun. So that's my big enjoyment out of it, is being able to hang out with so many cool and awesome people.
No, it's a lot of the people are great, and building those relationships is great, and having friends around the country is a lot of. It's very good. It's very nice.
Speaking of friends, I'm going to bring up our backup host, Eli, because he's going to do... Speaking of
backup hosts.
Yeah, and backup friends and backup hosts, because he's going to do our weekly We Want the Truth segment. Hey, Eli, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you guys doing?
I'm my usual sunny self, so...
I'm also very surprised to see me here.
Yeah, right.
This is not expected. But yeah, I've got the question of the week segment for you guys. So last week we asked, what is the least appropriate? I had it here. Sorry about that. What is the least appropriate opening for door-to-door soul winning? So here are our top 3 non-Chuck Gatos answers. Number 3, Zach reads. Good job, Zach. The least appropriate introduction for door-to-door soul winning. Do you want to be drenched in the blood of my savior?
Creepy. That's a creepy opening line. I'm like,
That's a really,
really
strong opener.
when you think about
funny.
Go ahead, Kelly.
I was going to say, back in the days when the JWs did more door knocking, one of the things that when they'd knock on my door, I would always tell them that I was druid and I was a druid and was baptized in the blood of a tree. Do you have any questions for me? And they usually didn't want to talk to me after that. So.
Yeah,
Awesome.
if you were to lose your memory and have all knowledge of Christianity wiped from your brain, and somebody came to you and taught you some of the doctrines of Christianity, you would be like, "This is freaky. You're freaking me out here." So yeah, good answer.
And you're eating his body?
Yeah, and drinking his blood.
Yeah. But it's not a cult. Right? It's not witchcraft.
It's not. There's no druids involved. What?
We got 2 more here. Second one from Serge Kilogram, I think. I don't know. Least appropriate introduction door-to-door soul winning. Please pay no attention to the fact that I'm only wearing my magic underwear.
Yeah.
Which, to be fair, is like a lot more modest than just run-of-the-mill underwear, I would say.
Yeah, it's not like your normal day-to-day underwear.
No, I think people would be like, huh? They would it would be more weird than salacious. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not
It's
like it's a holy thong or anything.
No.
I would go for one of those.
For a holy thong?
Yeah. Then we'll move on though. The number 1 from Shay the Crocheter, least appropriate introduction to door-to-door soul winning. Hi, I'm required by law to say I'm a registered sex offender near you. But while I'm here, have you heard about our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ?
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's no comment.
Right. It hurts because there's an element of reality behind it.
Yeah,
Yes,
right.
Yeah. It hurts because it's true.
I did these things, but now I'm better because Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had a conversation about like that recently on the nonprofits as well. So for the next week's question, the prompt is complete the sentence. If I were a ghost, I would blank just to fuck with people. So that'll be next week's. Aaron, do you have an answer for this one?
Yeah, if I was a ghost, I'm assuming I couldn't interact with the physical world, because if I interact with the physical world, I would just move shit all over the place. But assuming ghosts can't, I would call people from across the house all the time. So they had to they never know when they're actually getting called or when they weren't getting called, and who was doing the calling and if they were really needed or not. So, and I would especially do it in big houses to rich people, so they would just have to literally walk across the house. Yeah.
Right.
Some spirits can interact with the physical world, like a poltergeist, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm assuming there's no rules.
Okay.
I would. Okay. There you go. You know what I would do? I would keep taking somebody's alarm clock and putting it back 1 hour while they're sleeping.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
That'll mess with them.
I would just when they go to close a door in their house, put my hand over the latch hole so it just won't latch. Which is somehow I'm moving through matter and also affecting matter at the same time. But if we assume there's no rules,
yeah, right, it
doesn't matter.
You can control the molecules the way you want.
We're talking about ghosts, so I guess there would be no rules. Yeah. Ghosts can do whatever we want them to do. Kind of like God. He can just be whatever we need him to be.
Yeah, there you go. All right, that's it for me, guys. I'm going to get out of here. Have an awesome show. Yeah.
Thanks, Eli.
I always enjoy having Eli around. So
Eli's great. Everybody's great here at the ACA.
I'm the best though.
Okay.
Okay. As long as you agree. You don't have to be
we
enthusiastic
are
with
all
your agreement, as long as you agree.
we're all one of the best. We're all special. We're all special, Kelly.
I'm still, I promised Jimmy Jr. I wouldn't be negative anymore, and I told him it was going to unleash this huge ego that I have, and he told me to go ahead. So
Okay, well, let's see it.
you just saw it. I'm the best.
Oh, okay. I've seen bigger
You'll
egos.
see more of it as the show goes on, I'm sure.
Okay, challenge accepted.
All right. Oh, you know what? Speaking of challenge, we're going to do Super Chat Challenge. And here's the deal. We had so much fun doing random facts last week. I am going to lobby for that to be our thing, that if you give us a $5 or more Super Chat, we are going to hit you with some truth. You want some truth? Give us a $5 Super Chat, and we will hit you with a random truth fact. So no matter what we're doing, whenever that Super Chat comes in, we will stop what we are doing and read your Super Chat.
I have 11 facts right here in my little notepad over here on this other screen.
Cool.
Nobody can see but me. I have 11 facts, and I want to get through them all today. So come on, let's do it. $5. Let's go. Let's go.
Awesome. So Aaron,
I do not guarantee the funness of the facts, though.
You know, I always say if you want to see the future stars of the ACA, you should be watching Nonprofits Today, right? Do you agree with that?
The Nonprofit is a great show. They have really interesting, very smart, intelligent people on that show talking about really interesting, smart, and good articles. Yeah.
And Eli too. Besides those people,
and me, and then I show up occasionally. I haven't been on the. I have not been on there very much lately, but I occasionally also show up and, you know, ramble incoherently for a few minutes at a time.
So how did you end up becoming a part of the Nonprofits?
I just asked. I just sent an email, said, "Hey, I want to be part of the ACA. You guys are doing great. I really wanted to be here where I am right now." Excellent. My plan is coming to fruition. I want
to work hard at it. You just asked, huh?
Well, I've been at it for a year and a half now, I think. So it took a while, but no, I asked to. We
got to stop. We got to stop.
We got to stop. Is it a okay?
Throw a fact out there.
Okay. Maine is the U.S. state closest to Africa.
That is not a rock fact, but there are rocks in both Maine and Africa.
Yes.
So there is a connection.
Thank you, Rainbow Ash, for your super chat. And
there's your fact. If you want a rock fact, though, I'll give you one just random right off the bat.
Hey, they only paid for one, Kelly. Are we giving this shit away?
Well, no. Well, why not? They wanted a rock fact. We'll give them. We'll give.
Okay.
They were the first one too, so we'll give them the bonus, right? The mineral kyanite has 3 different hardnesses depending on which plane of the crystal you check. It's the only mineral that does that.
Very nice. I understood each word, but not all of them together.
Yeah, cool. Cool.
Very nice. Yeah, so I got him. Let me grab a crystal. Oh yeah, what does it look like?
Okay, I don't have a crystal of it, but if I grab this crystal, it has a different hardness across this surface and across this surface.
Oh, right? Okay.
And across this surface.
Oh,
so no matter which of the 3 surfaces you test, it'll be a different hardness. Whereas this crystal is the same all the way around it. Yeah. In fact, all other minerals are the same all the way around it, except for kyanite.
That was a rock fun fact, is that is the one mineral that behaves differently than all the other ones.
There you go. Just like I am.
I am now a mineral expert. Where's my PhD, Kelly?
I don't even have one. So
where's my PhD?
I can't give them out yet.
I thought you did. I thought you had a PhD.
No, I do not. I have a degree in English.
Oh, okay. But you're published in journal.
I am a published peer review. I have been published in peer-reviewed geology journals. Yes.
That's amazing. That's really cool.
I went back to school and took a few geology classes, and I just been working in the field my whole life. So I'm kind of
What's your favorite peer-reviewed article that you published?
They're not real interesting for like, I'm not doing big scientific discoveries. Mostly what we did was talk about new locations for something. Okay. So the thing that probably got the most reaction that I published was an article about a rock that was called Uperlite. It's just a commercial name. It's not its real mineral name. It's named after the UP, the People who live in the
Peninsula.
UP of Michigan are called Yoopers. So, and it lights up in a UV light. So the guy called it a Yooper light. And we did a bunch of tests on them. We figured out what all the different minerals were in these rocks, and we published that. And it started a huge fad. I was actually on TV in Japan. I had a Japanese film crew in my house. It was amazing. I just had surgery on my back too. I could barely walk and stuff.
That's cool.
It was awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was great. And
Well,
so
well
yeah,
done.
that was my big claim to fame. So most of my articles have been like that. We just discovered this mineral in this new place. Although
That's the coolest name, Yooper. I just love the fact that they named it after an abbreviation to the Upper Peninsula, a Yooper. That's amazing.
Oh yeah, the UP there, eh? I love it up here. It's beautiful. If you ever get a chance, everybody, come on up. But don't stay too long. Go home.
Closest I've come to Michigan is Minnesota. My sister lives in Minnesota. So.
Oh yeah. Have you ever been to the north of Minnesota?
Nope, just around Minneapolis.
Okay, I'm about to say if you've been to the north of Minnesota, it's a lot like here, honestly, a lot like it. So,
lots of lakes.
Lots of lakes.
I heard there's lots of lakes up there.
Lots of lakes. So you just asked, huh?
I just asked. I sent an email that, hey, I want to be on your shows, and they said, well, we don't let random strangers onto our shows. So, but we do have this cool show called The Nonprofits where you can start out. And I said, sure, I'll do that. And so I did that for a year and got on an episode of Talk Heathen. Then went a few months and got on an episode of Truth Wanted. I think it was Truth Wanted first, and then Talk Heathen, and then backup hosted Talk Heathen and ended up being on the host that day and backup hosted a couple weeks ago.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is, I think, my sixth appearance on the ACA, on an ACA call-in show, my fifth or sixth. So
that's awesome.
Very excited to be here. Yeah.
That was about my story too, honestly. Except I didn't ask; they asked me because I'm just amazing.
When you get asked, yes, you must be amazing.
I was doing Meet the ACA on Discord. I'd been doing that for like a year, so everybody knew who I was already. So.
Yeah, and I started listening before the pandemic when everything was live broadcast from the library. So I was like, oh, there's no chance I'll ever be a host because they have to move to Austin.
Yeah, right.
And then the pandemic happened and they started doing remote hosts. And I was like, oh, everybody's remote now. So, hey, I can do it. So, and here I am. I am not in Austin. I'm in an undisclosed location.
I think it's one of the best things that's happened because we've been able to bring in so much great talent from all over the world, and continue to. We've been able to bring it, like Justin DZ just joined us, John Gleason, the Godless Engineer, just recently joined the crew over at AXP. So it's really good to see all these people that normally we wouldn't be able to have. Right?
There are a lot of good hosts, a lot of smart people out there.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to make the world a better place, and me and us and you and me. I sorry guys, you're stuck with us tonight and our main Africa mineral fun facts.
Yeah, right. There you go. We do have open lines though. We'd like to have you call in. I got one call that's being screened right now. So as soon as they're done with the screening process, we'll bring them on up. And I think they want to call in about the question. What about that? What about the question about expertise? I was thinking about that because there are a lot of fake experts out there.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of, one of the things that I run into, and I just had a guy in today, just one of them today. Guy knows everything about rocks. Doesn't know crap about rocks, but he really, really thinks he knows everything about it. The guy was an expert in his own mind, right? So how do you deal with that kind of a thing?
Well, that's the tricky part about being an expert is usually once you become an expert, you realize you don't know a lot of things. And so you kind of like, well, it's XYZ, but there's all these exceptions or there's all these kind of rules or you're simplifying things. And so when you're an expert, you tend to be a little more, a little less sure just because you know that you don't know a lot. And there are people that aren't experts that they're just sure and they're confident. My junior English teacher told us the class once that if you pretend to know what you're doing, people will believe you. Mm-hmm. It's human nature to believe the loudest voice, the most insistent voice, the one that's talking the most, instead of actually evaluating what they're saying.
I'll back that up in a heartbeat. Yeah. I don't, maybe it was last week I was on the show. I was just recently talking about using the voice of authority with a crowd of people. You just start talking like you're the guy in charge and ordering people around, and they listen. It's really weird.
No, it's true.
Yeah, it's crazy. It really sucks in a way because if the person yelling and telling everybody what's up, it's so sad that Miranda Rensberger, it's so sad that people think a 5-minute Google search is the same thing as years of education and experience. You're absolutely right.
Yep.
You're absolutely. You want to throw that one out, or you want me to get one?
Oh, I think. I think we've both given one fact, so now I will do another fact. I think it's back around to me. Let's see here. Antarctica is the world's largest desert.
That's true.
This is more of a pedant fact because a desert is technically anywhere it doesn't rain, and it just doesn't rain in Antarctica. So technically, it's a desert. Thank you, Miranda.
Thank you so much, Miranda. Thank you for all your support all the time. We love you to death.
Yeah. Why isn't Miranda hosting these shows?
I don't know.
Has somebody ever tried to? Oh no! Here we go. Here we got from Godwin $1.99. Oh, he only paid $1.99. Can we let him interrupt? I'm not sure.
How does geology prove Noah's flood? Well, in several ways. There's no record of it in the speaking of Antarctica, there's no record of it in the polar ice caps, right? In the levels of the polar ice cap. That's a big way right there. We also don't have any worldwide sedimental layer that's from the same time period. So that's another way. That's just two easy ones right off the back. I don't know if those are
because when floods happen, they carry dirt and they lay dirt down, right?
Right.
And then as floods continually happen, more dirt comes piled on and piled on and piled on. And so if you dig down into the dirt, or if you look at the side of a mountain that's got all those different layers coming through, you can see what's happened in the past as you look at those layers. And there's no layer. If there's a worldwide flood, you would expect to see a layer that is about the same place worldwide, and we just don't see it. Here's a good
example. Like there was a meteor that impacted near Sudbury, Ontario, and it created like a huge tidal wave because there was all water here at the time. And that wave washed over where I live now, and there is still a layer of mud from that.
Yeah.
And that happened hundreds of thousands of years ago. So
yeah, I live in the Northwest, and every once in a while we'll drive up the Columbia River Gorge. And as you're driving up that gorge, the deep sides of the canyon of the gorge on both sides, and you can see those layer lines of all the different events that have happened throughout the millennium here on the planet, and it's fascinating.
That's a beautiful drive too, man.
It is a beautiful drive. Yeah.
I just got a warm heart. My dad and I took that drive. I don't have a lot of memories with my dad because I didn't meet him until later in life, and he passed away since then. So
it's really different now.
Thanks for mentioning that.
Yeah, a few years ago they had a fire go through the gorge, a really bad one.
Oh,
and so now the gorge it's still just as beautiful, but it's really different now because now you can see more of the rocks and everything underneath it because all the trees are burnt out. So
that's awesome.
It's pretty, but just in a different way now.
So we have our caller ready to go. It's Choe from Michigan. My Michigan.
Oh,
expertise is not overrated in the age of Google. So let's bring her up. Choe, she, her, Michigan. Oh, I thought I brought her up. I must have not clicked good there. Hi, Choe. How are you?
Hello. Hi, I'm good. How are you guys?
Awesome.
Doing well. What can we do for you? What do you want to talk about?
Well, for me, I thought the question was kind of easy, and then I don't think that expertise is overrated. I think that people overrate it, tend to in the age of Google, but I personally don't think it's overrated. And I was curious, why was that your question for this call-in show?
Well, it was Aaron wrote the cold open about expertise, so we kind of geared the question toward the opening that he wrote. So I guess, Aaron, you want to tell us why you wrote that opening?
Just seems when I look out in the world and I see a lot of the conflict that I'm seeing is people don't want to believe experts. They don't want to believe medical experts or mental health experts and other kinds of experts that have studied things for a long, long time and know what they're talking about. And it's really disheartening to look out in the world and see people using their own opinions or a Google search over the work of people that have dedicated their lives to certain knowledge in the world.
Right. Gotcha.
I have to agree with Aaron on that, but I also want to say I don't think we should gatekeep knowledge. Like I was just mentioning before that I don't have a degree in geology, yet I spent 40 years doing geology work, and all my geology friends, actually, I never considered myself a geologist until they started calling me one, right? Because I don't have a degree in it. So I don't think it's necessary to gatekeep knowledge and make it so only the experts can learn things. There is so much knowledge out there. You're right. In the age of Google, you can learn anything you want. However, and also in the age of Google, you can learn a lot of things that aren't true about a topic as well. So you have to be very careful.
Yes.
Yeah, and if you're not careful, you can also just reinforce your bad beliefs, your incorrect beliefs too, right? Our human beings have a tendency to have confirmation bias, where we only look at the things that confirm the things we already believe. And so if you're not careful in the world of Google and search engines, you can end up in an echo chamber where you're just seeing things that confirm what you already want to believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think that there's like kind of a death of curiosity that's been happening as there's been an increased saturation of information available so easily. Like, I think that people get less curious and less driven to learn and to really search things out, because so much information is so readily available. And my brain, I have terrible ADHD in my brain. I've had a lot of brain fog the past couple of years. But like, I think, see, I'm somebody, I managed to get a college degree, and I was raised in a small town that had like a kind of a big university for my denomination and a big church, and it was like a university church kind of thing. So education was like saturated, in my environment. So some people would debate about like the actual quality of my education, based on it being, Christian and not public. But at least what it gave me though is like a love of learning and knowing that like there's a lot to be learned when you research and when you dig into something and you dig into what professors have to say. There's so much more there. And so that at least has given me an attitude that when I go on Google, I know I'm just getting a little bit. And I'm also a doctor's kid, and I know that medical shows don't like, give you their shows, their TV shows. But there's some things that you can pick up logically where, like, say in diagnostics, for example, you can have a lot of the same symptoms for different things. And it takes a lot more detail and analysis to really figure out the cause of something, because a lot of symptoms are shared across the board. There's comorbidities,
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
and I think that because so many people now are being raised with so much information available, that like, we've kind of lost the thrill of learning and being empowered by that learning. And life has gotten so hard and there's so much crap in the world that I think there's a huge orientation to being comfortable. And unless you've, I think, been through scenarios where learning and like the truth that sets you free, in various scenarios has like really changed your life, I think a lot of people struggle to have motivation to really dig in and research and learn, because it just seems like there's so many resources, so much information available. There's such a saturation. And I think that's part of like what's going on in the world today.
Yeah, I agree. There's an oversaturation of information. We have the 24-hour news cycle. We have social media. If you're not careful, you can just be hooked in and just receiving signals, receiving information into your brain. And I don't think the human brain was necessarily evolved to handle that, to handle all that information and we just can't sort through it all, right? And our brain tries to make sense of it, and our brain literally will make stuff up. If we can't understand something, it'll just make things up. And so you have to be really careful about how much information, where you're getting that information. Yeah, I totally agree. And I love your idea that how important curiosity is, because if you're curious,
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna reflect on what you believe, and you're gonna be curious about, hey, maybe I don't know everything. Maybe there's more for me to learn, or maybe I'm not right. So I really do agree that curiosity is a really important trait to have to stay educated.
And then, sometimes you go through something shitty or like just a trauma or a complex trauma and betrayal. And then sometimes, the natural reaction is to like just shut down and make life simpler to avoid that pain. And then sometimes either the natural reaction, if you have somebody with a unique brain, or sometimes, everything aligns and somebody encourages you to be more curious, you can like respond redemptively to that awful thing by like seeking to learn about it and dig more into reality. Because usually when there's, shitty stuff that happens to us in betrayals, it kind of like opens up new and really painful doors to more reality. And there's more to learn, and we can either shut down or we can expand. And, learning and opening ourselves to more information, it's hard and painful. But, I think that sometimes if you've been through enough, if you've been through enough situations where like lack of information was really harmful, if you've not been through those scenarios where lack of information was harmful, again, it deadens curiosity. But, and maybe somebody listening to this might just, like take this and, get a drive to like learn more. Cause like, I'm thankful that like I can look things up on Google and get kind of like a feel when I talk to my doctor about my health issues. And I always just take it as like a little bit of a lead. And then she and I talk more. And then of course there's tests. And then like, when there's tests to figure stuff out and get answers, sometimes my doctors are like, well, this is really just going to rule something out. It's not going to necessarily tell us, but I'm like, no, that's okay. Because even if something is ruled out and it's not that's still part of the answer. That still fills in more puzzle pieces, and I just think it would serve us all a lot better to have more of that kind of mentality rather than just seeking to be comfortable, because it's so dangerously easy to find ways to make ourselves comfortable. And then we can be vulnerable to harm and contribute to harm and not realize it.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I agree with that, but I also agree that we could just be contributing to harm at any point and not realizing it too. So, it doesn't, you know what I mean? It doesn't matter in this situation. That your amount of knowledge or information doesn't always matter when, if you're causing harm and you don't know about it, the amount of, you know what I mean? If it's something that's like extraneous to your normal routine.
Well, and that made me think, I apologize. I don't mean to keep interrupting. Sorry. I keep thinking you're finishing. Sorry, you finished.
That's okay. I was just, what I'm thinking of is like, I don't know if you're familiar with Jainism, but like Jain holy men will carry a staff with a bell on it to warn small animals and even bugs to stay out of their way so they don't step on them. We all look, we do these unconscious acts of harm all the time. Right. And there's no matter how much knowledge we have, these things are still going to happen. We can't prevent it from happening. That's my point. That's the only point I was making. So, and I try not to dwell on that stuff. And I look at it this way. If it happened, it was because it was probably meant to happen. And if something bad came out of it, it's up to me to make that bad turn into good. And the one thing you could always get out of even a bad experience, you can always get some good out of it by learning a lesson. And I say many, many times, my failures and my setbacks have made me more of who I am today, and I'm proud of who I am today than all my successes put together, So, yeah.
Well, and real quick before, we close, because I know I've been on here for a bit, like just
You're fine.
One last thing is that in terms of curiosity, I think it's also important for us to remain curious about ourselves, to pursue more self-knowledge, because we can so easily be deluded about ourselves. We not just inoculated to what all there is to learn outside of ourselves, but it's really important to just not to be navel gazers and unhealthfully fixated, but to know that we're always evolving and growing, and there's so much more of ourselves to get to learn. And I know that, the way that my brain has worked and things have shaken out is that when I've messed up and realized that I was capable of a type of harm that I never intended or wanted, then that made me want to learn more about that capacity and also to help others with it, and I just think curiosity would be such a good tonic for the whole world, curiosity inwards and outwards.
I agree.
That's awesome. That was one of the things I really tried to instill in my kids was that sense of curiosity and wonderment. I think, yeah, that's what we need more of that. We really, really do.
Yeah, and I think there are a lot of people interested in making sure people aren't curious, and in telling people that knowing things and learning things is dangerous, and that you shouldn't go out and try to find the truth, or you shouldn't learn new things, because learning those new things, it could be dangerous. It could, and my response is the truth. The truth, that you have nothing to fear from the truth. The truth is the truth. And I think we're all better off knowing what is true over what is false. You know, knowing that which comports to reality, I think, as most people have phrased it. Go ahead, say that again.
Yeah. No, truth sets you on solid ground, for crying out loud.
It does. And it can be hard when you're learning stuff about yourself and those around you, those can be tough steps to face and tough steps to take, because it can sometimes involve changing who we are and how we interact with the world. But I think that just makes us better people.
Yeah.
But it sure can be hard to face the truths of ourselves.
Sorry, what?
It can be hard to face the truths about ourselves.
Oh, it's painful. It's painful.
It's harder to look in the mirror than it is through a window.
That's true. You know, and as a theist, I want to toss this out in case there's any Christians listening or who hear this later, that, like, you know, a lot of Christians can just be kind of the worst in some ways about this. And yet I just want to toss out there that, like, you know, we Christians say that we believe in an infinite God and that he's the way, the truth, and the life. And if he's infinite and we're finite, and his, you know, and the Bible that we say we believe in says to, like, you know, this is eternal life, that they know you, the only true God, and Jesus Christ whom you've sent, then, like, that should imply to us, like, a lifelong task of learning, because if eternal life is to really know and experience God, then that means constant learning. Like, constant,
wouldn't, I mean, like, one of the things,
the logic of, like, finite beings relating to an infinite being that they say they believe in. So I just want to toss that out there as a challenge to Christians who come across this.
That's awesome. I think one of the problems is that, like, a lot of, you know, we have problems with evolution. Let's go back to the time of Galileo, when we had the problem with when we found out the Earth was in the center of the universe, right? That these things that and it's not just Christianity, it's many other religions have beliefs that are just not in compliance with the things we found out through science since then. And I think that's one of the reasons that a lot of Christian churches, and I'm not saying all of them, nor am I saying everybody in any one particular church is like this, but a lot of people want, squash that sense of curiosity, because of the fact that the more curious kids get, the more they often see that the world doesn't align with their religious beliefs.
Yeah, and I'm not testy about, like, that, because, like, you know, again, like, I think that Christians should be the most curious people, and that, like, you know, like, there's so much to learn. And if we believe, logically speaking, if we believe that an infinite God created the world and has put all kinds of, like, infinite genius into it, then, like, we should never stop learning. And, like,
then there's an infinite amount of knowledge, right?
We are, then we shouldn't be afraid of learning.
Yeah,
and we shouldn't be afraid of self-correcting.
Because I agree. I'm totally.
Is full of that.
You are like a bright star in the darkness, Chloe. It's really good to hear you say this. So yeah, I agree with you fully.
Yeah, I like to hear Christians challenging other Christians to be better.
To challenge them to learn. That's amazing. I love it. Yeah, that's great, Chloe.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for calling.
Yeah. Thanks for your call, Chloe. It was great talking with you. Thanks for. I think I recognize your voice. You've called many times before, so I think all your calls have been fabulous. So thanks for calling.
Calling in. So.
Yeah, it's been a while. So yeah, but you're always welcome to call back. I love talking to you, Chloe. So feel free. At least when I'm on the show, I can't speak for everybody else, but I love. I'll talk to you any day.
Thank you.
All right, and with that, I am going to announce that we have a patron of the week. Believe it or not, something we do. Yes, something we do every week.
It's been another week.
It has. It's been one more week, and our patron of the week this week is Stefan Vandenberg. I love that name. Stefan Vandenberg, thank you very, very much. Thank you, everyone. Man, you know what? If I get into a sword fight, I want Stefan Vandenberg on my side. I don't even, just because of the name, he's got to be good at it. But thanks to all the other paid people who contributed to the show, we really, really appreciate it. Every penny goes to produce the show. None of us make any money off of it, none of the hosts. So please keep helping support us. We appreciate it a lot.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Don't we have some announcements we should be doing or something?
Well, I'm disappointed in our audience. There's no super chats. Where are the super chats asking for random facts? We spent a long time before the show, about 5 minutes, looking up random fun facts.
Yep.
And we need to get our money's worth. We need to get these out there. These are important fun facts that people need to know.
We thought you people wanted truth here. What the hell?
Yeah, I mean,
hey, here's some truth. You can get Truth Wanted merchandise like this awesome mug.
ooh.
It's really easy too. All you gotta do is visit all right, I'm gonna start over. tiny.cc/merch ACA. We got t-shirts, we got hoodies, we got mugs, we got hats, all kinds of cool stuff. Go over there, check it out, and you can find stuff from the other shows there too. So, all those other shows the ATA does. And another way to support us is by sending us those super chats. Keep them coming in. We're going to keep throwing truth at you. Become a channel member by clicking the join button below the video. It'll give you access to special chat emojis and access to early YouTube shorts and clips. So, and you know what? We have a very, very, very special group of people that make this happen every week. They are the amazing, the incredible, the awesome crew. So if we can bring the crew cam up, I would love to see how everybody, look at those awesome people.
Look at them. Look at them.
There you go. Yeah, yes, there you go. Truth Wanted t-shirt. There you go. Repping the merch over there. Awesome.
They should have sent a poet, Kelly. They should have sent a poet. So beautiful.
That's amazing. So we still have a call though, and this is going to be interesting because Chloe said, in this day and age that
we got a fun fact.
There we go.
Kelly, I believe it is your turn. Luke Riley wants a fun fact.
Rubies and sapphires are actually the very same thing, corundum. One has traces of iron that stain the mineral one color, and the other has traces of chromium that stain it white. Isn't that amazing? And actually, really cool. Sapphires can be any color but red, because then they're a ruby.
Okay, so basically rubies are their own special thing. If it's not red, it's a sapphire. The color red got a better deal. Right.
As a geologist, they're all the same thing. As a gem merchant, they're different. Right.
But I think of sapphires as blue.
Right. But they can be green or gold. A Padparasha sapphire is kind of orange. So now, there are other colors.
I remember reading once that emeralds are actually one of the most valuable.
They are. They're
like more valuable than diamonds or something like that. I can't remember.
They can be. Yeah, they probably actually are, because there are actually way more diamonds in the world than people realize.
Yeah, and they're also easy to make. Diamonds.
Now they are nowadays. Yeah, it took them a while to get it down, but yeah, they can make them pretty easy nowadays.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to bring this call up because Eric, him in Colorado, says that expertise is not relied on enough. I keep forgetting I got to double click or they don't come up. Hi, Eric. How you doing?
Hi, Aaron. Hi, Kelly. Thanks for having me on the show.
Thanks for calling.
Yeah. What do you got for us?
Yeah. So, well, I was reading the topic, and I'm like, I wanted to call and just give my 2 cents here. But I've been around a while, and I don't know if any of you remember, but do any of you, like me, remember when the internet or like Google first began?
I do, yeah. It was amazing. We were talking before the show.
Yeah, we actually were talking about it.
Do you remember before Google, there was Yahoo, and you had to go click and find topics, like start at a really general topic and then slowly get, that's how you search the internet before, kids. is you had to search it yourself, kids. None of this, and it just pops up, and none of this AI garbage where it just answers your questions for you.
That's right. You had to find it.
Do you want people to get off your lawn too, Aaron? Sorry, Eric. Sorry.
That's okay. But when the internet was new, when search engines were new, there was something that they taught us, and it was called internet etiquette. And they're like, okay, this is, when you create something new like Google or the internet or whatever, it's a great tool if you use it properly. I always give the example, a hammer is a great tool if you use it properly. If you use it improperly, it could be a weapon or really dangerous or it could be used for harm. So the internet and Google and everything else is the same way. It's a great tool if you use it properly. Now, so one of the things they used to teach is internet etiquette, which means when you search for information, make sure you cite your sources, that you're going to reliable sources to find your information, because anybody can go in there, make their own website, and put in any kind of garbage or nonsense that they want to and try to make you believe it. And it's interesting how it's almost like nowadays nobody ever goes to like a physical library and looks up information in paper encyclopedias and all. Everything's now internet based, and so in today's world it's very hard to discern what's real and what's fake.
Yes, but I'm going to argue that it always was. Because you could go down to the newsstand and buy a magazine that was full of bullshit. I'm thinking of Fate magazine as an example of that. I don't know if anybody ever heard of Fate magazine, but it was all full of stories about ghosts and psychics and stuff. It's supposedly all real stuff, right? There were plenty of books out there that were published full of bullshit. And so it might not have been as prevalent as it is today because the internet's right there and more people can access it. But to me, that bad information was always there. It just wasn't as accessible as it is today. Like I say, because we do have the internet, but the amount of it, I think, is about the same. Does that make any sense at all? Most of the time I don't make sense, but every once in a while I have this revelation. So
yeah, it definitely made, before the internet. Yeah, there were definitely books and magazines. I remember, I don't know, what was it, the National Enquirer or whatever, used to have all kinds of ridiculous stories in there.
But like Fate magazine wasn't like that, right? Everybody knew the Enquirer was bullshit, right? People took Fate magazine seriously with their stories of ghosts and psychics and stuff, right? That's what I mean. I know there's like the Weekly World News, great entertainment, but people don't take that seriously. People did take other things seriously.
Right. And one of the dangers was, especially if you were in school or college or something, where, before, if you were given like a book report or some sort of topic to research, everyone knew, okay, I have to go to the library. I have to search through the encyclopedia, like the Encyclopedia Britannica and all that, and find just the facts, just the data that talked about this topic. And most schools, accepted that as, okay, that's real data, that's fact and all. And now you can kind of do that now on the internet, but I think there's so much more that you're like, I don't know, I'm reading this. Is this right? So now I've got let me see if I can go through maybe a dozen other websites to see if all of their data matches and says the same thing. Then maybe it's a little credible, or I have to find a website that is actually credibly sourced,
Mm-hmm.
It's a strange dichotomy in that information wants to be free, and bad information especially is free. But good information to gain, and for human beings to gain new knowledge, new information about the universe, it costs time and effort and money to do that. And so it's that good information is in things you kind of tend to have to go pay for because it costs money to get that information. So you have to go find the books and pay for the journals. And I know you can find journals that are free and things like that, but it's a little more challenging. It takes a little more work to go out and find accurately sourced information, right? That is actually peer reviewed, that's been studied, that's been accepted by the scientific community. Yeah.
Oh, there you go, Aaron. We got to stop. Blind Limey says, it's always frustrated me when someone demands evidence and then dismisses it as fake because it doesn't match their narrative. So what kind of truth you got for him there, Aaron?
Did you know that woolly mammoths were alive when humans built the Great Pyramids?
I did know that.
Yeah, I did not.
I did, actually. They were living on Wrangel Island.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So you got two facts there, actually.
Yeah. Thanks, Blind Limey.
All right, Eric, we're back to you now. Sorry.
Okay. No, that's good. I didn't know that, but that's really cool.
Yeah. So, when I was in school, we were taught not to use an encyclopedia. You couldn't source as an encyclopedia. I think the equivalent today would be Wikipedia, right? You can't source Wikipedia as a source because you have to go to the things behind Wikipedia to find actual accurate information. And it takes work. It takes work and effort to find accurate information. Like I said, bad information really wants to be free.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I remember when Wikipedia started, and they were like, but see, Wikipedia, I think, used to be locked down. So only certain people could enter information in. So they're like, okay, well, this replaces paper encyclopedias. So now you have a digital encyclopedia. And the information we're putting in here is all credible. But then they opened it up and they're like, okay, now anybody can write whatever they want to in it. I'm like, well, now it's not credible anymore.
Yeah, I think Wikipedia is a good place to start. I think overall time has maybe demonstrated that Wikipedia can, for the most part, be trusted. That there are really good people out there that monitor and watch and make sure that only accurate information is out there. But you can get inaccurate information. But that's usually the first place I go, just because usually when I want to learn something, I just want to know at a high level about X, Y, and Z. So I don't really need to go to the library and look up books on gerbils because Wikipedia gives me the information that I need. Do you trust Wikipedia?
Not so much anymore, but I don't use it as much as I used to. I think I did at the beginning, but after a while, when people when it started getting a bad rap, I said, I'm not sure if I can trust it anymore. And so I haven't used it in a long, long time.
Yeah, that's usually my first source. Where do you go to get your accurate information?
Well, I guess it depends on what I'm looking up, but I may try to go to maybe like a government source or an educational source. So something that's like that's an established place that would be, if I was to go there in person and look up a paper book,
right? Would
they have that same information digital?
Yeah. So go to a .gov website, a .edu website. Make sure it's a reputable .edu, of course. I think Google Journal. No, not what's it called? Google has a place where they publish journals. What's it called? I can't remember, but
I'm not sure. But one of the problems I know is you're going to get a lot of people that don't trust any government information at all. So,
Google Scholar.
Yeah,
I'm being told.
Google Scholar. Yeah, and there you go.
Yeah.
Thanks, Eli.
Yeah, those are all good sources. Textbooks are good places to go because those are being used to teach people what the most accurate knowledge is in the world. So those are good sources as well.
Yeah. Trade journals.
But yeah, it's very so. I just wanted to call and give some information about what I experienced when I was younger and how things have changed with the internet. And I think the younger generations now probably don't get that experience or training. They don't get that etiquette. They don't know what I or any of us went through when we were younger, where we didn't have the internet. So
Yeah, I'll have to. My kids are in high school. One just recently graduated. I'll have to ask them what they got taught as far as how to write papers and how to do research and where to go, because it's so different today than it was, back when I was doing it in high school and doing research. You actually had to go to you actually had to go to the books,
Library.
right?
Yeah.
You had some people that were on the research papers. They would drive 2 hours south to the University of Oregon library and to do their research, and they'd have to get all the quotes and write note cards and take it home and cite their sources. And if you forgot to write down the source information, guess what? You have to drive back down to Eugene to get the book citation that you could use in your paper. So
Yeah.
that's the way I was taught to do research. Was you got to read it. You got to read it in a book.
I remember driving 2 hours to a library so I could read a paper that was just in that library on a university campus. Yeah.
and if you were lucky enough, your parents actually bought a whole set of encyclopedias for you at home.
Yes. Yes.
We had one. Yeah.
I was lucky.
Yeah, we had one with the life books, like the book about fishes and reptiles. We had those too.
Oh, yeah,
when I was growing up. Yeah, but we had an encyclopedia and those books.
Yeah, we had Encyclopedia Britannica at my house. I was lucky.
Man, the people used to make money doing that, man. Going door to door, selling the encyclopedia.
Selling knowledge, man.
Oh, yeah.
Man, times have changed.
Mhm.
Knowledge is free, damn it. But I think you're right, though. I think there is a need for experts still. Because there is so much bad information out there. It is really hard to find good information sometimes if you don't know what to look for. And I mean, I see it on a weekly basis here in my store with people come in with all kinds of bad information about rocks and crystals that they believe. And it just isn't true. Mm-hmm. And it's really hard to fight back on that when, somebody has read something on 30 websites and then they come in and see some guy wearing a rainbow tie with long hair who's trying to tell them, no, everything you were told is wrong. Everything you've read for the last 6 months is wrong, all of it. And they don't want to hear it, and a lot of them really want to believe these things. I mean, that happened to me. I wanted to believe that the crystals had these magic powers. I wanted to believe in that we were all one, I still kind of believe we're all one in a way, but I mean, but on a spiritual, metaphysical sense, we were all one. And I don't know that that's true. So.
Yeah, I think we believe what we
right.
want to believe when it comes down to it.
Yeah. And we can sometimes convince ourselves.
Yeah, you're definitely right when you said that when people research on the internet, and if you read like 2 or 3 dozen websites about this one particular topic that you're interested in, and some of them say what you want them or what you believe in, or they confirm you, and others are against what you believe. So you want to hold to, well, I believe in this, so I'm just going to believe in the ones that agree with me, and I'm going to ignore the ones that don't agree with me. And I'm like, well, that's not really how good research is done.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And also, good information is also nuanced and complex, and there's lots of gray that's not black and white. And guess what the human brain doesn't like? The human brain doesn't like nuance. It doesn't like complexity. It doesn't like gray. It wants black and white. And so we're constantly fighting our own brain, and we have to tell our brain to stop it.
And the more you become an expert on something, the grayer the topic becomes.
Yeah.
That's true.
I mean, for all intents and purposes, evolution is a law of the earth, right? It is the one of the phenomenon in nature that is the most documented, has the most evidence. The gravity is the same thing, right? The forces, but yet the scientists call them the theory of evolution, the theory of, whatever. And that makes people think, well, that if it's just a theory, right? It's like, no, it really is a law. But the people that are experts, they're like, but we could learn something new, and it could change and be different. And that just does not go over well with most people. They don't want things to be like, well, it's squishy. It could be squishy. And,
Timey-wimey.
yeah, timey-wimey, Jeremy Bearimy. You know, it's just, yeah, we're our own worst enemies, man.
And this is something that bothers me. I listen to, I think I listen to way too much atheist stuff and YouTube channels and all, but something that, and I listen to a lot of people that argue and say, no, you're wrong, science is wrong, science, all that. I'm like, wait a minute. What really bothers me is that nobody said that a scientist will learn and study and research something and find an answer and then boom, stop. That's it. This is the answer from now to eternity. It's like, no, that's not how it works. This is the best with all of the evidence that they've found and studied and learned and researched and everything. This is the best that they have at this particular moment in time. Now,
Yep.
As they keep going, they might say, hey, here's something we haven't experienced or discovered yet, and now we've just discovered it. This changes everything. It could change it a little bit. It could change it a lot. Now we can adjust what we've learned before and now say, hey, this is new. We're now adjusting what we've learned. Now this is the new fact or evidence and all.
Yeah. And that's a feature of science, right? That's the whole point of science is to
example.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. The example I always like to use is I like dinosaurs. So if you look back from, decades ago when they first discovered dinosaurs, they said, oh, well, first of all, they were lizards and they walked upright, dragging their tails behind them, and they moved really slow. And that's what everybody believed. And they even built the skeletons wrong in the museums.
And iguanodons with a spike on their nose, right?
Yeah. And as time went by, they learned more, they studied more, they researched more. Then they're like, wait a minute, we're wrong. They actually don't drag their tails are up. They actually don't, they're not lizards, they're more like birds, So
it's not a nose spike, it's a thumb.
Science. Yeah.
That's true. That was something that actually happened.
So to me, it seems kind of ridiculous to say science learn something and.
Sorry, Eric, I got to stop you right there. We got $5 from Phil Honig, I think Australian.
Stop. Phil, we're giving the fun facts here, man. You don't get to give us fun facts. We're giving the fun facts here.
But that's cool. Countries like France, Germany, and Poland all have an element named after him, but there's a small village in Sweden that has 4.
What village is that?
That came from Phil. Coming back at you, Phil. The Gulf of California is a spreading zone. Many millions of years from now, it will be like the Pacific Ocean.
The Gulf of Mexico?
Yeah. It'll keep, Baja will go one way and Mexico will go the other.
Yes.
And the Gulf will end up being as big as the Pacific eventually.
Most people say theory, but what they mean is hypothesis. This is from Free Jemmy, I think.
Sorry, Eric.
Yeah. A theory is the best explanation supported by facts we currently have. Yes, we use the word theory to denote that our knowledge is never complete. Our knowledge is never complete. We're always learning more things. But one thing that we do know that is probably not going to change is the theory of continental movement. My fun fact about continents moving is they move at the rate of your fingernail. That's how fast continents move, however fast your fingernails grow.
That's amazing, actually, when you think about it. All right, back to Eric now. Sorry, Eric.
That's okay. No, I think when we stopped, I was at my stopping point too.
I kind of like this thing, but it does kind of mess up your conversation sometimes. I really love it though. Yeah.
Yeah, it's important to realize that science is always evolving. We're always learning new things. Something being a theory is a feature. And I would really just encourage people to accept the squishiness of science and that it does change, and there's no black and white. There's no This will always be true in science. We could always learn something new.
And then there's always, every time you find, if you're a scientist and you discover something, there's going to be 100 other scientists that are going to say you're wrong and try to prove it. So, and that's the way it should be. I mean, it really should. So.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I tell everybody this. Now, I'm an atheist now, but I used to be a Catholic, and
I'm glad you got better.
one time, yeah, I know, me too. And I used to teach adults about Catholicism, and there was a guy who was a super skeptic, and he's like, I don't believe anything, and he says to me, well, what's your proof? What do you have? What can you show me, or how can I believe all this stuff without seeing anything? And I said, you know what? You're asking really good questions. And you know what? A lot of people will tell you don't question your religion, just believe it. Don't question it. And I say, no, question everything. If something doesn't make sense to you, question it, read about it, look it up, find the answer. I encourage you to constantly question what you believe. I don't care if you are what religion you are, or if you're not a religion, just constantly question things and try to find the answer that satisfies you.
Yep.
That's the secret to having an open mind, really, isn't it? I mean, too many people think having an open mind means believing in alternative facts, right? And that's just following a shepherd with a smaller flock. That's all that is. Having an open mind is the ability to take what you already know and believe to be true and re-examining it and throwing it away if you actually realize you were wrong. That's what having an open mind is.
Yep. And as Chloe said earlier, being curious.
Yeah.
Being curious is an antidote to dogma and holding on to beliefs for bad reasons. Yeah.
Sure enough.
So that's everything. And but I do appreciate you having me on the show and letting me voice my opinion.
Well, thanks for calling, Eric. We appreciated the discussion. It was good.
Yeah, we appreciate you calling, Eric. Feel free to call back anytime. It's been a great conversation.
All right, will do. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Okay, take care.
Bye-bye. That was a great call.
That was a good call. Yeah.
Well, man, we got lucky. We got 2 good calls in a row. How about that? Isn't that great?
Well, let's break the streak. Who's next?
We're going to talk to John, him in Canada. And all I got is it says curiosity.
Okay.
So, hey, John, what's up?
Hi, Kelly. Nice speaking to you again.
Yeah, it's good to talk to you, John. How you been? I haven't talked to you in a long time.
Yes, that is true. I also want to say hello to your partner, Aaron Jensen. How are you?
I'm doing well. John, I think this is the first time we've spoken. It's great to talk to you and finally meet you.
Yeah, me likewise.
I missed you, John. I really did. I honestly really did miss you. I'm glad you called tonight.
Oh, I really appreciate that. I really do. So I was listening to Chloe earlier, and she said that curiosity is a good thing, and I agree. Curiosity should be encouraged.
You seem like you've been a lot more curious in the last 6 months or so. Is that a thing?
Yes, it is. I'm always curious about the world around me. I want to know more because it's the only way you gain knowledge.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's the only way that you gain knowledge.
Yeah. I agree. So how is your path going for you right now? Are you doing well? Is everything working out for you?
Yes, it is. But you see, I still have a lot of questions. But back to curiosity, I just want to say that if we wouldn't have the knowledge that we have now, and what really stifles me is that when religious people say that, "Oh, I already know the answer. I don't need to investigate because as far as God is."
Yeah, exactly.
Because if you believe something, you don't need to investigate it any further, right? And you've already got, you've been convinced, and you don't have to do any research or anymore on it and think about it anymore. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So how have you been curiously? How has your curiosity improves your life lately? What have you been curious about and investigating, John?
Okay, well, here's a question. How is it that intelligent people with diplomas, medical diplomas, can believe in something without ever seeing it? For instance, if God does exist and we can't see him, but yet they still believe in it. If you ask these people if they believe in leprechauns, elves, or even other gods, they'll say nonsense. But when it comes to the God of their choice, they'll be like, yes, I know he exists. I don't need to prove it. I find that amazing how that happens.
Darren, were you about to say something? I was about to say, I think a lot of it, John, is they were taught this from being a very small child, like almost from the time that they can understand language. They're being taught that this is the way it is. There's let's just take the Christian God, because we all know the Christian God. There's this entity that lives up in the sky. He created the universe. He looks down on you. He sees everything that you do all the time. He's created a system here for everybody to live with inside of. And there are these rules that he's made, and you have to live by these rules. And if you live by these rules, you get to go to paradise and live there forever. Right. And it is just drilled into you from a child, from the time you're 2 years old to the time you're 10, 12 years old. You are completely told that this is true. And you're being told it's true by people you trust, by your parents, by the minister at the church, by the policeman who lives down the street. Everybody believes this and thinks it's true. So it's easy for you to fall into the idea that it has to be true, since all these people I trust, these smart people around me, they all believe it. It has to be true. See, it's easy to fall into that trap, you know?
But at some point, when you become an adult, you have to start thinking for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Why don't you ask the question? Why can't I see him?
Not everybody has that curiosity. And one of the things is too, when you're being indoctrinated into this idea of God, you're also being indoctrinated into the idea that you shouldn't question it. If you should totally believe everything that God says. He's wiser than you are. He's smarter than you. You shouldn't question it. If something seems bad that he did, it's not bad. You just don't understand it, right? It's just, that's just God's way. It's the way, it's God's plan.
There's also the penalty of death.
Yeah. And that's, go ahead, Aaron. Sorry.
I was going to say, I think what for me, it comes down to one word: belong. As human beings, we're a social species. We survived and have evolved in groups together. And one of the worst things you can do as part of a social group is to be ostracized, because that meant you weren't going to survive anymore. And so it's really, really important for us to belong, and our brain really wants to belong. And so when everybody around you believes something, it's almost impossible not to also believe that. It takes a different brain almost. It takes a different way of believing. And so you really have to be careful that you're not just believing things because everybody else around you believes it. So what do you think, John? Why do you think educated people believe some of these things?
What do I think people believe these things? Okay, I believe it's for several reasons. Everything you just said, the indoctrination, but I also feel that the penalty of hell, that if you question the God, he'll send you down there. But I think the two most important reasons are a sense of comfort, because let's face it, it's kind of comforting to know that up there in the sky or somewhere in reality is an all-powerful supernatural being who has your best interests at heart. It's like the ultimate parent, like this guy's taking care of me and he cares about me. He cares what I'm doing. He cares whether I'm happy or sad. And if I pray to him long enough, he might ask him for something. He might give it to me, and he's going to protect me from something. And
that's really powerful.
And and also another reason why I think people believe is that the promise of eternal life. I think the biggest reason is fear of death. That they can't accept the fact that when it's over, as soon as you close your eyes, it's all done. Like closing your eyes and there's darkness, there's silence. There's not.
That sounds awesome to me.
Accept it.
I mean, seriously, that sounds awesome to me. You know, after the noise of my love of the world, just being able to just tune it all off and not worry about anything anymore. That seems like, to me, that seems paradise. Just having to be able to just flip the switch and it's done.
Yeah, I have an opposite view. I'm terrified. I'm terrified of dying. I'll be honest.
Seriously?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It scares. It scares me.
A lot of people are. You know.
Yeah.
I've been really close to dying. I just had a kind of an episode just recently, but I've been so close to dying before I've had a heart attack and stuff. I just don't care. It just, you know, it doesn't scare me anymore, I guess.
No, I really liked your points, John, that fear of death can influence people to want to believe, and the comfort of feeling like there's something bigger than you that you're connected to, that there's some being out there that has your best interest and is looking out for you. I think those are two really good reasons that people continue to believe, even though there's really no evidence for their beliefs.
Yeah, I believe that too. Yeah, I think you're making some really, really good salient points here tonight, John. I got to say.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that, and I appreciate the work that you guys do. Well, anyway, I think I should let you go so you can talk to some more callers. But have a good night.
You know,
thanks for calling, John.
Dude, John, do me a favor. Next time I'm on, call me again, okay? I really do miss you, man. I always love talking to you, and I miss you.
Yeah, good conversation.
Me too.
All right. You have a great night, John.
All right.
You know, John has come a long way.
You think?
Yeah. If people don't think that we change people's minds, that this show does anything, somebody needs to go back and make a super clip of John's calls, and you'll see some changes there. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I think a little bit.
Yeah.
I think I hopefully when John calls back and he's talking to other hosts that they're a little bit nicer to him than maybe some of the hosts have been in the past, because he's still on his journey and he's not, he needs some help along the way. So thanks, John. Thanks for calling in again.
Thanks for calling, John.
I appreciate it. You have no idea how I'm glad you called me tonight. So I really did miss talking to you. John has always been my favorite caller, believe it or not.
Yeah, I'm really glad I got to talk to him tonight. So
I know a lot of people are always complaining about him and stuff, but John has always been my favorite person to take calls from. So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I appreciate the journey that he's been on.
Well, do we have any no more super chats? Nobody's interrupting us. Pockets have run dry. People just really are interested in these very thoroughly, deeply researched fun facts that we've got ready to go. We've got lined up. We have anybody else in the queue? I don't have access to our.
We got that's it. I mean, we pretty much depleted our
callers
for tonight. Yeah, unfortunately, but we had 3 really wonderful calls. Did we not?
I thought we did. Yeah, I really enjoyed all our calls tonight. Yeah,
I really did too. I really enjoyed tonight's show. I want to thank you Aaron for being here.
My pleasure. It's a privilege to be here.
I always enjoy working with you. I think you're a pretty sharp guy.
Thanks.
I really do. I always have. I'm in your corner rooting for you to get more airtime. So,
I think you're my personal cheerleader, Kelly.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that I work with on nonprofits, and I really think need to get a little boost, and it's really good to see them. I've championed a few people off of nonprofits. I'm gonna get you some business cards, and your title's gonna be Aaron's personal cheerleader. There you go.
So I appreciate it.
And I'm looking at the notes here, and it says we want to thank Kelly for helping out tonight. Ask the backup host. So here, you know what? Bring up the backup host, Kelly. Oh no, it's Eli.
Oh, what's happening? What's going on? I'm lost.
Well, Dan was supposed to do this show tonight. I was the backup host, and so I jumped in, and Eli was amazing and was able to pop right in and be the man on the spot and jump in as the backup. So at a moment's notice. You're muted, buddy.
You are muted, my friend.
Talking like an angel.
Oh,
Nope. Still
dang
talking like
it.
an angel.
Okay, well,
So that we don't have Eli. Some kind of problem, he says. I don't know what's your problem.
technical problems.
Technical, yeah, Eli's had, and he's like on the crew too. He should be able to take care of that shit himself.
Yeah, I know.
What's going on there?
It's the backup host isn't supposed to have technical problems. It's supposed to be
Yeah,
the other
right,
hosts that have
you
technical
definitely don't want the
problems.
backup host having technical problems, right?
Oh my gosh! Now we're one host away from just total chaos.
So because we can't hear Eli, though, I am going to remind everybody what the question of the week was. Or prompt for this week is, complete this sentence. If I were a ghost, I'd blank just to fuck with people. Comment on the video, comment below, not in the chat, but on the below. I don't think you can do it until after the show's over. But tune in at the beginning of next week, and we will talk. We'll cover the top 3 answers, and one of them just might be yours. So stick around in Discord. Eli and I are going to be hanging out there for after show for a little while. So head on over there at tiny.cc/ACD Discord. And I think that is about it, unless Aaron, you got, oh, you know what, Aaron, where can we find you?
You can find me here. On the shows. Well, occasionally I'll be here on the shows, and you can send email to the atheist community, aaron.jensen@atheist-community.org. Send me an email.
Cool.
That's where you can find me.
Cool.
If you're in the Pacific Northwest, I hang around Portland, Oregon, so that's where you can find me.
Nice. And we really appreciate you tuning in tonight, and hope to see you over on Discord. We hope to see you back here next week. And remember, folks, keep wanting the truth.
Watch the non-profits and join the hosts in the live chat. Visit tiny.cc/YTNP.